It's always a question of who we are, where we come from, all that stuff. Some people, they take pride in their culture, they take pride in their family, they take pride in their nation. We're always questioning, what is human history? Where does everybody come from? What existed before us? Was Atlantis real? Was Kumari Condom real? All these different questions. What's going on in the North Pole? I don't know about a lot of stuff. I'm always looking into stuff, reading, watching videos. But I figured, let me look at my own history a little bit. So, Washington and Caesar. It's a book by Christian Cameron. Former Navy officer, right? I myself am prior Navy. Used to serve in the submarine force. I've had that book since I was a kid. And I'm talking like elementary school. It's simply about George Washington himself and a particular former slave. Well, he starts off as a slave, and then he gains his freedom, and then it leads to this point where the book really follows their respective stories as they go apart and then come back to each other. It's a really good book. Simple book, but really good. Probably read it like a dozen times throughout my life. And there's the Gospel of Barnabas. I don't call myself a Christian. I don't call myself a Muslim, Buddhist, any of that stuff. I'm just a guy who believes in a higher power. If you believe in the Big Bang, that's perfectly fine. If you are a devout Muslim, if you're Jewish, whatever you may be, that is all fine. For me personally, I'm just a guy who believes in God. I respect Christianity, I respect Islam. I was raised by a Christian mother or a Muslim father, and in being raised by those two sides, I just saw so many similarities. Of course, there are differences and so forth, and there's a lot of history, bad history. But when you get past just the basic human element, and you really do focus on their emphasis on God, for me personally, I just do believe in a higher power. This is all created by someone who wanted us to be in his likeness. And the Gospel of Barnabas, so the King James Version, the Bible, New International Version, unless something drastically changed, they don't have any mention of Barnabas. There's a lot of different books that have been left out of the more popularly circulated, religious texts. This is just a book that I have that goes a little bit deeper into it. Gives a different aspect, a different perspective. Adds a little bit more to the story. Those two books, I'm not going to pretend like I read a million books because I don't. But you really don't need to. If you do, beautiful. If you don't, it's whatever. But I have read those over and over and over again. And they just give a different take on religious history. No more randomness. I'm a big Detroit Pistons fan. Detroit. Lifelong. I don't know where you can see it. Jeremy Grant, autographed. Got a piece of one of his jerseys in here. In the span of an offseason, Grant went from being a talented role player to the guy in Detroit. The seventh-year forward averaged a career best 22.3 points during his 2020-21 year. A year later, teammates said he had not let up, His confidence is at an all-time high, and the season began. I mean, one of the most underappreciated players in the league. Underappreciated. Great guy off the court, great guy on the court. Highly effective, very experienced. Should have stayed in Detroit. Or rather, Detroit should have put in more effort to actually keep him there. Because I'm pretty sure he would have stayed had we offered him the contract that the Pistons honestly had the room to offer him. But it's whatever. Luka Garza, playing for Boston now. Another underrated player. But it's simply just, we gave him one season. And he gave us, something to hold on to. It's not like he was bad in that one season. He was a rookie in that one season that gave us some really standout games. And we didn't keep him. And proceeded to be garbage for like the next, 2 or 3 seasons? Instead of keeping him on a team and moving forward with Luka Garza, keeping Jeremy Grant on a team as our veteran forward going forward that the younger players could grow with, we just kept making one bad move after another. And I feel like that hopefully it didn't hinder his development. I look at Jeremy Grant and I feel like he's kind of wasting his career away over in Portland. I know they got some kind of youth movement going on over there too, but I feel like he's in a better situation here in Detroit. Luka went from Detroit to Minnesota where he was buried on a team full of quality bigs. Like that was arguably the worst case scenario you could have gone to in regards to actually getting legitimate opportunities. Now he's in Boston, so we'll see. In fact, I got a couple of his cards. I was big on him, and I still think he's going to be, great. In fact, this one is autographed. Then here's the one that's going to be, honestly, I still stand on it. Killian Hayes. People can say what they want to say. His scoring ability left a lot to be desired. But he was gradually improving on it year after year. His passing, his facilitating. The dude was a pure traditional point guard. You run with that guy. You don't go and just axe him. We let him go. We waived him. The very next season we didn't have Killian Hayes on the team. Our perimeter defense as the Detroit Pistons took a notable step back. Our ball security took a step back. Our ability to facilitate lessened. We had to scramble and eventually managed to get Dennis Schroeder for a rental just to replace the production that we lost in Killian Hayes. So I know a lot of the fan base made him out to be this horrible, non-NBA level player, but he was actually really good. And he was so young, still is young, that he has plenty of time to continue getting better. The only thing he was lacking in was his scoring ability. And every once in a while, he would figure that out. He just needs to be more consistent about it. Ball security, perimeter defense, ball facilitation, quality facilitating. He just needed to be a more consistent scorer, which he was getting better at. And then there's the non-Detroiter, De'Aaron Fox. It's not autographed or nothing. I actually have more. I got a Cade Cunningham card. I got a Sengun card. I got somebody else. Can't remember who. I got a few people on. Building up my collection. I don't go based off of other people's thoughts too much. I formulate my own opinions. Again, Luka Garza could have been on the team all these years, just getting better and better. And we, as Detroit, would have benefited from it. The man could score. He was not shy at setting up screens for his teammates. He was not shy from scoring from all 3 levels and being a quality rebounder and being a willing defender. And he was building up his athleticism. He was building up his body. Sorry about that. Dude was getting better, though. He was getting better. Oh, these are just a few things, though. Motor City Cruise. Detroit's G League team. I remember going to games to watch Saban Lee and Luka Garza just ball out. Fun games. I love Kelter. I'm not going to open it up right now. I'm just going to leave it in there until I have like an actual frame, a case to put it in to protect it. She was a standout rugby player on our women's national team. Beast of a player. And I have others as well. Of course, I got to have Calvin Johnson. Kind of hard to be a Detroit and not have at least one Detroit jersey. Detroit Lions jersey. Look at that. Number 81. So I got the fucking tag on it. Again, I got to get cases for all of these. Calvin Johnson. One of the best teams we ever had to do it. This is who I am. Lifelong Detroit fan. Detroit Lions fan. That 0-16 season and the overall, I think, 18-game losing streak we had before we finally won the first game. And Matthew Stafford throwing a game-winning touchdown pass against the Cleveland Browns while playing injured as a rookie. I still gotta give me a Stafford jersey. A Lions one, not the Rams one. Again, I'm probably military. Wrong camo, but U.S. Navy. Served on the 728 Florida Gold Crew and the 757 Alexandria. Oh, yeah. Jeremy Grant. Look at this. I appreciate quality players, even if they don't get the level of hype that other players get. He was never super flashy or nothing. Grant was just a consistent 20 points per game. Quality defense on the other end of the ball. Quiet veteran leader. Spoke when he needed to. So he was deceivingly athletic. I mean, he played like someone who didn't really have speed or hops like that. And then you see him on a play where he's sprinting down court in the fast break against the Boston Celtics. Got two guys D'ing up on him in this fast break. Goes up for the dunk in between both of them, slams it down anyway. And it's like, where'd that even come from? He had that in the tank the whole time. But he only used it when he needed to, because he was just that versatile. And I'll end with this. Bowling Green State University. Went to college there. Played rugby. Won a national championship. Worked with one of the soccer teams. It was a good stepping stone period in my life. That's just a bit of who I am, though. We should all be trying to discover more on who we are and retracing who we've been. I'll just be looking to the history of the world or the history of, honestly, even your family. I mean, look into the history of you. Go back to the things that you've collected over time. And then really think, what does any of this say about you? This right here. This says, I am not hive-minded. Killian Ace. I mean, kid gets blasted. Not even kid. Man, the young man gets blasted on a regular. Even now, people make jokes about him and his ability. But if you ever actually watch him play, watch him in the few games he played with the Brooklyn Nets. he looked like someone who had been there for a lot longer than just a few days. Like those few games he got to play during the regular season, his quality of just ball movement and overall court facilitation was just there. It was good, especially when he played against Oklahoma. Oklahoma City, best team in the league that season, just last season. And Hayes looked like just pure quality. You listen to the chatter, you would think he was the worst player that ever existed. Gets Darko level hate. But then you actually watch him play, and suddenly it doesn't add up anymore. He got his flaws, don't get me wrong, he's got his flaws. But at what, 23? Was he maybe going on 24 now? Barely in his mid-20s? Got years to continue getting better. But me having a signed card by him and actually being happy about it says I'm not hive-minded. When most people say one thing, if I don't agree with that one thing, I'm not going to go with it. I'm going to stick on my stand on my point. I'm going to go with what I believe, and that's just going to be that. If it makes sense, you know? Now, if people are all saying the same thing and what they're saying actually does make sense, then I'll give it some credits. Maybe I'll bend on my own personal take, if it makes sense. People said that Jeremy Grant wasn't worth the contract that he was expecting. It wasn't even a top 25 contract in the league. I'm not even sure if it's a top 50 contract. And Detroit had one of the largest, if not the largest amount of cap space in the league. Where we could have gave him that contract and then also made other moves. We didn't do it. Because why? He was too old. Being in his upper 20s at the time, he was too old to be the veteran that the team is built around. So that guys like Cade Cunningham can have a quality player on the court with them that they can lean on when they're struggling and they can learn from. The average Detroit Pistons fan wanted Jeremy Grant gone. Just for us to get Bojan as his replacement. Beware of hive mind. Be your own person. That's what my history tells me. I served in the military when I could have done other things in my life. I've been a lifelong Detroit Lions fan even when they were on an 18-game losing streak. I was still very vocal and open about being a fan of the Lions. I saw the potential in them getting better, even though they were losing game after game after game. 18 games in a row. It might have been more than that, but I'm pretty sure it was just 18. Like it's a full 16-game season and 2 games into the next season. Most people don't go to G League games. Oh, it's not NBA players. I mean, you never know when you're going to see someone on the G League level that will really burst onto the NBA level. They just need the opportunity. And there's some good basketball there. Going to Wayne State Fieldhouse where the Motor City Cruise play. It's fun games. Do what you're going to do. Look into your own history. Recognize who you've been, who you're becoming, and just make sure you're living your own life. You're not living your life in accordance to what everybody else is doing. You're not trying to keep up with the Joneses, which is a big problem than ever in this age of social media. Be yourself. Do you. But that's where I'm going to end this. You ain't got to read a million books, be intelligent, but it does help to at least have a couple. Find a couple that you really enjoy. It could be on religion, finance, just pure fiction, pure non-fiction, whatever. Find a couple of books that you really like, that you can find yourself reading over and over again. And every time you read that book, bet money, you'll get something more out of it than you did the last time. There'll be something you noticed this time that you didn't notice last time. You'll grow from reading the same books over and over again. Because as you grow, you naturally change. How you view things change, your perspective changes. And thus your experience reading that same book, those same couple of books you got, will also change. Meanwhile, you'll be getting that nostalgia out of it. But yeah, that's all.